Good morning, 5th grade Stella Griffins. This is Miss Han, and I'm going to review Friday's lesson with you. Today's lesson is about multiplying fractions again, but specifically this time we are modeling, okay? We're modeling unit fractions multiplied by unit fractions. Okay, so when you're doing a new lesson, it's always good to kind of get the lay of the land and understand what the lesson's going to be about, to kind of like check out the space, right? Check out the situation and try to understand what the topic is going to be about. That's how you'll know where to place the information in your brain. Okay, so first we are modeling. Remember, modeling means that we are working with pictures that represent the numbers. That's what modeling is. We're modeling unit fractions being multiplied by unit fractions. So it's going to be important to know what a unit fraction is. A unit fraction, well, if you think of the word unit, unit looks like it has the word uno in it, doesn't it? And we know uno means the number 1. So unit fraction is a fraction that has the number 1 on top in the numerator. So an example of a unit fraction would be 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, even 1/100th. All of those are unit fractions. Okay, but the uni, has to be in the top in the numerator. So if you had to guess, what does multiplying unit fractions by unit fractions look like? It looks like this, where you have a unit fraction and a unit fraction, and you multiply them to get your answer. So now we know what we're learning today. We're learning how to multiply unit fractions by unit fractions, but in particular, how to model it. Okay, that means how to draw the picture or look at the picture, because with math, it's not just about memorizing tricks like, oh, what's the trick to multiplying these and just memorizing rules, but it's really understanding what's going on, and the picture often helps us to know what's going on. Okay, so this is the answer key. So this is actually the answer already, but it's often useful to just start with a blank slate. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give us a blank slate to model the situation. I wonder if I could. I want to. I'm just gonna white out this whole thing, okay, to help us make this our own problem, okay? So I like to play with the different colors. So first things first, let's read the question. They want us to find out what is 1/4 of 1/2. 1/4 of 1/2. In math, the of often means to multiply. So really, they're asking us to multiply to find 1/4 of 1/2, or 1/4 times 1/2. Now, what does that mean? So for this situation, we really have to start with what we're getting the 1/4 of. Who are we working on? We are working on, we're working on the 1/2. We're going to take the 1/2 and we're going to get 1/4 of it. So since we're going to get 1/4 of it, we have to first draw, what does 1/2 even look like? Okay, so let's start with, what does 1/2 even look like? So in fractions, drawing fractions, you guys already know that the numerator is on top. The denominator is on the bottom. The denominator is the number of equal pieces, okay? The number of pieces that we're dividing the whole into. The number of pieces that you divide, right? The number of pieces we have, right? In the whole. And the numerator, is the number of pieces that we select, or that we are going to choose, that we're going to shade or select or use that I'm going to just say shade. Often when we're drawing, we're going to shade it. Okay? So in 1/2, 1/2, we're going to take a whole. We're going to divide it into 2 pieces because it's the number of pieces we have. We have to make 2 pieces out of this whole. So I'm going to cut this piece. Okay? Going to cut this piece. Ooh. We're going to cut this piece right down the middle. And so that now that I cut it, now I have 2 pieces. So each piece is now 1/2 of the whole because I cut it into 2 equal pieces. And I could call each part, I can call it a half. And this is a half. Okay? Now, they're all halves, but we divided it into 2 equal pieces, but now we have to shade just one of them. We don't want both of them. We only want 1/2. Okay, so actually let's color it in. We only want 1/2. Oh, great. Okay, great. How do I get orange, man? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to shade in. I want just the 1/2, okay? So I got the 1/2. Now what am I going to do with the 1/2? Remember what we said we were going to do with the 1/2? We're going to get 1/4 of it. What does it mean to get 1/4 of something? Well, remember, what does the 4 tell us? We're going to have 4 equal pieces, right? Total. But we're going to just shade one of them, right? Okay, so we have, but what are we doing this to? Are we doing this to the whole pink box? No, we're just doing it to the 1/2 that we created. We start with the 1/2 and we're going to get 1/4 of it. So when you're cutting it into 4 equal pieces, it's often useful to now make lines in the other direction. So since I made my 1/2, I used the vertical line to cut 1/2. I'm going to use horizontal lines to cut into 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and now cut this guy into 4ths, into 4 pieces. 1, 2, oops. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces. But if I'm going to make those cuts, I might as well just go all the way. So I'm going to make the cut all the way. So now I have 2 pieces. Now I have 3 pieces. All right, there. I have my 4 equal pieces. Okay, I have my 4 equal pieces. Now I have my 4 pieces, but how many of them do I want to shade? Just one of those 4 equal pieces. Just one of those 4 equal pieces. Just one. All right, so I have my 4 equal pieces. Where are they? They are right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what am I going to do? I'm going to just shade one of them. Just this one. So I had the orange represents 1/2. Once I got my 1/2, I broke it up into 4 pieces and just took 1/4 of that, which is just the blue part. So that is my answer. That is my answer. Okay. How do I describe, or what's the name of that little guy? What's the name? What's his size? What's the name of that little fraction? Well, when we name him, think about how many pieces is he broken into? That's the denominator. And how many of those did we shade? Well, how many pieces did we divide this guy into? This guy is what piece of the whole, which is the pink? Well, how many of those how many other friends does he have that are the same size as him? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 of those little guys. The whole is divided into 8 little guys. And so guess what? All of them are called 1/8. These little guys are all 1/8. Okay, so we're dividing it into 8 little pieces. These are all 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, right? They're all 1/8. You get me? And so they are, it's not 8, but eighths, okay? Or eighth, 1/8. So we broke it up into 8 pieces. So the denominator is 8. And of those 8 pieces, how many did we shade? Well, there was 8 of them, but I only shaded that one. So I have 1/8. My answer is 1/8. So all of that is what we needed for us to really understand how to model or how to draw 1/4. Well, let's stick with the colors that we used. We took 1/2, but what did we do to the 1/2? We got 1/4 of it. And so 1/4 times 1/2, oops, that's not what we did. Well, yeah, it is, but the 1/4, we cut it into 4 pieces. We took a whole and we cut it into 2 pieces. After that, we took that little orange piece and then we cut it into 4 pieces and we highlighted just one of them. And so in the end, we got 1/8. Okay, so when if the teacher asks you to just multiply, you might just show it like this. But if we ask you to model it or draw a model or show a picture, then you really need to show us this picture right here. Okay, and so that's why we're practicing how to draw or model these fractions. So let's try one more with some different numbers. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to erase all strokes. Woo! And feel free. The good thing about this is the video. If you want, if I was going too fast, go ahead and pause. Go back. Watch it again. You never know. The second or third time, you might really get it. So give it a try and watch it again. Okay? So let's now try a different example. Let's try 1/2 of 1/4. Okay, so right here, 1/2 of 1/4. If you remember, 1/2 of 1/4 is really 1/2 times 1/4. Didn't we already just do this problem? We kind of did. We did it the opposite. We just did 1/4 times 1/2. And you remember what we got. Well, how is this different? So remember, when we say 1/2 of 1/4, who is the home base that we're starting with? We're starting with the 1/4, and then we're going to do something to it. We're going to get a half of it. But let's start with what the heck is 1/4? What does 1/4 look like? So I'm going to start with the pink again, just like last time. Let's start with 1/4. Well, I'm going to start with my whole, and I'm going to get 1/4 of it, and I'm going to start with my vertical lines. So to get 1/4 of that, okay, so I started with my whole, and then to get 1/4 of it, I cut it into 4 equal pieces. So now that I have 4 equal pieces, right, I have 4 equal pieces, oops. I have my 4 equal pieces, but I'm only going to shade one of them. I have my 4 equal pieces, but I'm only going to shade one of them. So I'm going to just shade this one piece. And so what did I just shade? What I just shaded was 1/4 of the whole. Okay, 1/4. What am I going to do with that 1/4? Well, what I'm going to do with that 1/4 is I'm going to get a half of it. I'm going to get a half of it. And to get a half of it, I'm going to break it up into 2 equal parts. Okay, so I'm going to this time use the lines the other direction, the horizontal direction, and I'm going to break it into 2 equal parts. So I'm just going to make the line, I could just break it like this because that's all I need to break. But why be stingy with a knife and just make the line go all the way around, all the way across. So I really broke this guy into 2 equal pieces. And how many of those equal pieces do I want to shade? Well, I only want one of them. So of these 2 equal pieces, I have these 2 equal pieces, but I'm only going to shade one of them. So I'll just choose this one. All right. So there's my answer. That's my answer. What do I call it? What's the name of this guy? He's a fraction for sure because he's not the whole thing. When I make my fraction, it's weird. It's kind of backwards. You start with the bottom, right? The bottom, the denominator is how many pieces? How many equal pieces? How small is this piece? Or how big is it? Well, this is a small piece because we divided this whole into how many equal pieces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 equal pieces here. So each little piece is 1/8. All of these little guys are 1/8. Eighths. Okay. I have 8 equal pieces. So that's my denominator. And how many of those eighths, of those eight of them, how many of them did I shade? Just the one. So my answer is 1/8. Again. But notice this 1/8 is just, it's really the same thing, but it looks a little different. It only looks different because we cut it the other way. Last time we started with 1/2 and we cut it the other way. And really last time we did it like this, didn't we? But really at the end of the day, it's the same size, which is why it's really the same answer. Now, how do we show the math part of it? We really started with 1/4. And we took 1/2 of it. So we did 1/2 of 1/4. And in the end, it gave us 1/8. Okay. Again, if you like, you could watch the video for that problem one more time if it didn't make as much sense to you, to see if you understand it better the second time. I'm going to do one last problem with you guys. And this one's a little different because now it's not just about halves and fourths. We're doing 1/3 of 1/4. Now, if you remember, 1/3 of 1/4 is the same thing as 1/3 times 1/4. And we always start with the second guy because we're figuring out who's our home base. Our home base is 1/4, and we're going to do something to it. We're going to cut it. We're going to multiply it by 1/3. So let's start with a fourth. Okay, let's start with the fourth. Well, let's start with a whole. That's one whole. When I say whole, it's not like a whole. It's one whole, right? Like whole milk or a whole pizza or a whole square. This is one whole. But I took the one whole. I need to make 1/4 of it. How do I get 1/4 of that whole? To make this fraction, I'm going to divide it into 4 equal pieces. And I'm going to select or shade just one of them. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to cut this whole into 4 equal pieces. 4 equal pieces, and I'm going to shade just one of them. Equal pieces. And I'm going to shade one of them. All right. So let's cut this into 4 equal pieces. I'm going to start with my vertical lines. Let's make 4 equal pieces. It's 4 equal pieces, but I'm going to shade just, I feel like I should have used green because that's what makes the most sense, but I did orange this whole time. Of the 4 equal pieces, I'm going to shade just one of them. So that is 1/4. If I did this, that would have been shading 2/4. If I did this, it would have been shading 3/4. But I'm not. I'm just shading 1/4. So I got my 1/4, but am I done? No, I need to do something to it. What am I going to do to it? I'm going to multiply it by 1/3. So how do I get 1/3 of this 1/4 guy? How do I get 1/3 of him? Well, I have to break him up into 3 equal pieces. Let's do that. 3 equal pieces. I tried to make them look equal, and I wasn't stingy with the knife. I used a knife to cut it all the way across. But really, I'm just trying to cut this guy, this little 1/4, into 3 equal pieces. And what did I get? These little thirds, right? These little pieces. Now, how many of those little pieces do I want to shade in? I want to shade in just one of them. So of these 3, I'm only going to shade in the one. I'm going to shade in the 1. And so that, my friends, is the answer. Now, what does that answer really represent? What is the name of this guy? How big is this guy? Is this guy a whole? No, because the whole is this whole thing. That's too big. It's just a little piece of it, right? Think about it. It's of that whole. It's just a little piece of it, a little corner of it. What piece of that whole is it? What is that fraction? Well, depends on how many equal pieces it has and how many of those we shaded. So how many equal pieces do we really have here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 equal pieces. So that means the denominator is 12. And that means each of these are worth 1/12. Or these are called twelfths. 12 twelfths. Okay, so each of these are twelfths. These are little 12th pieces. But how many of them did I actually end up shading? I just shaded one of them. So I'm just going to put 1/12. So this, my friends, is 1/12. So we just took 1/4 and we broke it up. We multiplied it by 1/3. And so we got 1/12. And how do we write that with mathematical expressions? We say, we really started with 1/4, but we got 1/3 of it. So we say we did 1/3 times 1/4, and that gave us 1/12. I think after those 3 examples, if you already get this, you can certainly move on. I'm gonna just do one really quick for anybody who might want an example that does not have only 1/4 and wants a totally different answer. Again, if you understood it already, you can go on and just do the other practice problems on your own. If you want to see one more example that's a little different, that doesn't have 1/4 this time, we're going to do that right now. This time we're going to do 1/5 of 1/3, and I'm going to go a little faster this time. So this time we know that 1/5 of 1/3 really means that we want to take 1/5 times 1/3, which means we want to start with our 1/3 and we're going to cut it, multiply it into fifths, or multiply by 1/5. So let's start with our 1/3. Our 1/3, I start with my whole, I cut it into 3 equal pieces, and I shade only one of those. So this is 1/3. But now I want to cut it or multiply it by 1/5, which means that I want to make 5 equal pieces. So I'm going to try to make 5 equal pieces right here. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have you ever noticed it's weird? I want to make 5 pieces, so I need to make 4 cuts. If I wanted to make 10 pieces, I had to make 9 cuts. If I wanted to make 2 pieces, I only had to make 1 cut. Anyhow, I made 5 cuts. So I cut this thing into fifths, the whole thing into fifths, but I only want one of those. I only want one of those. So I'm just going to shade that one. So that's my answer, my friends. This is a picture of my answer. But what is the name of that guy? What is his name? Well, he is one of many brothers. How many brothers does he have? He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 brothers. So he is the first of 15 pieces. He is just one of them. And so he's really, that little red guy is 1/15. Okay, so our answer is 1/15. And so I would just say it's 1/5 times 1/3, which equals 1/15. All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to do for you is to show you how to... Actually, that's all I'm going to do. All right. See you later.